It's one of my earlier memories. My grandparents had a basset hound named Bing, as in Bing Crosby, which was their last name. I think they must have had a cute sense of humor, even though I don't remember too much of that. We, my mom, brother, and I, lived with them from the time I was born until I was about 4. My memories are sparse, but I have a few. Running laps around the house while Martha, they wanted to be called by their first names, not grandma, grandpa, or anything else. While Martha swept the floor and hearing her call out, "Don't run through my dust pile," in a good-natured way, or playing in the sandbox that Bob built for my brother and I. I remember watching them get dressed up to go square dancing and how they each had a small glass of red wine each night for the heart. I remember my crib in my mom's room, the room that would be mine later. I remember her leaving very early in the morning for her nursing shifts. The whole season is draped with a certain heaviness. She didn't plan on things going that way, didn't like having to rely on her parents again, didn't ever want to be a nurse. But the 1-year LPN program was a fast path to being able to support us on her own. One day, I was outside and noticed Bing running around the yard, probably chasing a scent, and spontaneously decided to run after him. I ran and ran in the direction of the saddle-shaped mountain, but he was well beyond my pace. At some point, the thrill of chasing him started to fade, and I realized it was getting dark, and that I was far enough from the house that I didn't know how to get back. With the desert changing colors the way it does at twilight, I sat on a rock and cried. I have no idea how much time passed, but at some point I started to hear my mother's voice calling for me and looked up to see her walking in my direction. She always did, and still does, walk with these long, leggy strides. I don't think I've ever seen her walk slowly. She was wearing a soft, broken-in flannel shirt and jeans with holes in the knees. And then she was there, holding me while I cried. I didn't mean to go so far. I lost Bing. It's getting dark. I remember thinking, wow, wasn't expecting that, sorry. I remember thinking she was the most capable, powerful person in the world because she knew how to find me. Bing came back later that night, no worse for wear. There's a picture I love of Martha and Bob standing outside their place while they were still building it. It would have been pre-1952 at least, because that's when they had my Aunt Laura, their oldest child. They look young and soft and energetic, standing next to a pickup truck with a mattress in the truck bed. He was a Nebraskan transplant turned Air Force pilot turned copper mine chemist, and she was the daughter of Finnish and German immigrants who wound up in Silver City by way of New York, Michigan, and Alabama. There's so much of their story that I don't know, and I'm realizing there are an increasingly limited number of people alive who knew them, and I need to ask more. In the picture, Martha looks glamorous and comfortable, ever-present pin curls and a flannel shirt over her clothes, like they were camping out in front of their life to come, right next to what they were building. I can't think of anything much more romantic than that season of glowy anticipation and pure possibility. I love remembering her that way, especially, I don't know what happened or how her unhappiness grew, but I carry a lot of tenderness in my core for her. There would be 3 little girls, pet goats, and a crow named Gabby, gardens, endless projects, sweet neighbors, all the things I like to idealize when I think about where I came from, and also the parts of life no one can really ever know about. I keep one of my dad's old flannel shirts in my bottom drawer. When I was helping my mom clean out his things, that was one of the things I wanted, along with a shoebox containing his slide rule from college. I was charmed by how worn down it was from use, and also imagined showing this antiquated tool to my own children someday. Some of his old ID cards in which he looks just like my younger brothers, and a few old sermon recordings on cassette tape. To this day, I can't listen to his voice without breaking down, but it comforts me just to know they exist, that there's a record. In the deepest folds of the shirt, it still smells just the faintest bit like him, even though he's been gone for over 12 years. Maybe my brain makes the smell up, but it seems real. I miss calling him with my questions. He was the person who had answers in my life, even though many of those answers fit inside a construct that I decided to walk away from. It was still comforting to at least think he would have had an answer for me if I asked, even if the answer wasn't one I could mentally assent to any longer. He always called me M, with the softest of Texas drawls, almost stretching it out to 3 syllables, A-M. He knew the Gila really well due to his time working for the Forest Service. Lately, I've been really wishing I could call and ask about trails and campsites and the histories of things.